For this project, I created an instructional design model specifically for music educators. The reason I chose to create a model specifically for this content area is because my undergraduate degree is in music, and I taught music for 8 years, yet I've never seen a model specifically designed for this field. In addition, I have mentored 2 other music educators at my school, and they both have come to me with numerous questions because they're overwhelmed. A concrete model is exactly what they could have used to independently succeed as a new director. This model is designed to walk any music educator through the daunting process of planning a concert from start to finish. To recap the model, there are 5 steps that must be completed in order. The first step is to consider the setting, which corresponds to the analyze phase in ADDIE. This is the phase where the director considers a number of factors that will influence the performance, such as space, acoustics, available instruments, age and experience of the ensemble, and who is the audience. In addition, this is the phase where specific goals are set. Once the director has completed their analysis of the setting, it is time to move on to step 2, program the concert. In this step, which fulfills the design portion of ADDIE, the director chooses music for the performance to design the components of the curriculum. When I taught music, I always tried to have at least one piece in a minor key. I always had a foreign language piece and an a cappella piece, and of course music of varied tempo throughout. In addition, your music must be in line with the objectives set in step 1 and must be age and ability appropriate for your ensemble. That's a lot of check boxes to fill. So for me, programming the concert was often an exhausting task. Step 3, score study, is compliant with the development phase of ADDIE because it's the time the director spends studying their musical scores and developing specific instructional methods and objectives in line with the goals set in step 1. The 4th step, rehearse and revise, refers to the rehearsal time when the planned instruction is implemented. However, there is also continuous evaluation during this phase as well. This is because during rehearsals, there is a teaching cycle that is constantly utilized where the instructor gives direction, the ensemble responds, and the instructor must reevaluate on the spot and give further instruction for the ensemble to respond to again. So there is a cyclical pattern of implementation and evaluation repeated throughout the entire rehearsal. In the model, this is depicted with a bit of musical humor because I used repeat signs to flank step 4. Because of this, step 4 encompasses both the implementation and evaluation phases of ADDIE. Finally, step 5, reflection, correlates to ADDIE as a formal evaluation phase. This is the time after a performance when the director evaluates whether the goals and objectives were met. In future performances, this step can actually serve in the 3rd step involving score study if the director ever programs the same music again. Another point to make about the entire model is that because it is not uncommon for a director to be preparing for multiple concerts at one time, it is possible to be juggling multiple models at the same time, as depicted in this slide. This is case in point why having a concrete plan in the form of an ID model is critical in staying on task and focused on achieving the specified goals. In addition to being based on the components of ADDIE, this instructional design model is also based on the Kemp, Morrison, and Ross instructional design plan. All 9 of Kemp, Morrison, and Ross's elements, seen here in the center of this diagram, are encompassed in one of the 5 components of this model. However, one difference is that in the Kemp, Morrison, and Ross model, the 9 elements of design are not sequential, so they can be completed in any order. On the contrary, this model is less flexible and requires the 5 steps to be completed in order because each step is largely determined by the one before. The particular setting that I chose to implement this instructional design model is the Arkansas All-State Choir. Each year, students who make All-State Choir are required to have a sight reading piece that they have to learn very quickly in rehearsals to perform at the final concert. The clinician may only have 1 or 2 rehearsals to teach this sight reading piece before the performance. I chose this setting because it allows the entire ID model to be completed in the 2-hour time frame. So the instructor is the choir director, and the audience is the Arkansas All-State Choir, composed of 10th through 12th grade students who have varied but significant musical abilities. There are about 200 members in the ensemble from soprano 1 to bass 2. In the creation of this unit, step 1 of the model, consider the setting, was used to analyze the scenario. The director considered a number of factors and even identified which factors bared the most weight. In addition, the director set a goal of students sight reading a new choral piece of music and successfully performing it from memory after only 2 30-minute rehearsals. In step 2, program the concert, the director browsed this link of the Arkansas Choral Directors Association's website to view past all-state titles to make sure he wasn't duplicating a piece that had been performed recently. To do this, he clicked Year to view by recent years, and type the name of the song in the search bar to see if it had been done recently. No results found. Ultimately, the director chose this arrangement of Down in the River because it met all the criteria that would allow for his goal to be attained in the allotted amount of time. In step 3, score study, the model was used to further develop rehearsal plans and techniques. To do this, the director marked up his score with everything that would be beneficial to him in a rehearsal. He also pre-marked the student scores to save valuable time from the start of the rehearsal. Again, step 4, rehearse and revise, is the trickiest to document because it requires a continuous teaching cycle to be carried out throughout the rehearsals. In this scenario, the instructor's initial plan is to have the ensemble speak the first section of Down in the River before ever singing a single note to focus on rhythmic accuracy. It's clear early on in the first read-through that rhythms are going to come naturally to the ensemble because most of the students are already familiar with the tune. In this case, the instructor must quickly decide his next instructions for the students based upon their first read-through that went fairly well. To further ensure rhythmic accuracy, the director decides to have the ensemble speak the first section on words once more, but this time he adds the additional instruction of using the correct phrasings, breath marks, and tempo that have already been written into their student copies. Based upon the choir's ability to properly complete this task, the director must then decide on the spot whether to review that instruction again or give further directions. Thus, the teaching cycle utilized in this step required constant evaluation, instruction, etc., and continued through the last minute of rehearsal. Finally, the last step, reflect, was used in the creation of this unit because it's the time the director spent reflecting upon what went well, what improvements could have been made, and whether or not the goal identified in step 1 was obtained. To complete this task, the director completed this rubric to evaluate individual components of the performance. In the end, according to the rubric, the director successfully attained his initial goal identified in step 1 in the allotted amount of time. As for what went well in the unit, it's just nice as a director to have a concrete plan to structure your preparation for a performance. I believe the model can be applied to any type of performing art, whether choral, orchestral, band, or an individual performance, and possibly even theater. Also, it can be used for any age group. In addition, the model can be applied to programming an entire concert and not just one piece. I also like how the goal was set early in step 1 so it could remain the focus of all the other steps. Finally, as for what needs improvement, I had trouble explaining and documenting how the teaching cycle works in step 4. I feel this step could use more attention. So I hope the idea of a continuous pattern of instruction and evaluation makes sense. I'm hoping this instructional design model is something I can actually pass on to my peers in the future. Thank you for watching this video today on implementing my instructional design model in an actual musical performance. Have a great day.